Alright, welcome back. It looks like the first trade of the challenge is setting up. Now, I said in the last video that I was going to just do a bit of demo trading first and get back into the swing of things. But I think through making the strategy video, doing the last two videos and really brushing up on my market structure and the way I'm trading. So I've been on to prop firm match. I've picked myself up a challenge of FTMO, just a 10 grand one just to get started with. And we're going to have a go at building up from there. So I'll show you the challenge I've bought and then I'll show you the charts. MT4 account size 10 grand, FTMO swing. I always go swing account so I can hold trades overnight and hold them as long as I need to. So let's have a little look at what's going on. On the daily, we can see that we've just took out some highs over there on the left, and then we've had a bit of a pullback. Now we are really overextended on the daily. As you can see, price has just pushed up, pushed up, pushed up. So we could be due a pullback deeper into that swing leg, so that's something to keep in mind definitely at this moment in time. Let's jump onto the 4 hour. So now on the 4 hour, we can see we've pulled into the daily zone. So we've moved up for a high, down for a low, although at this point it ranged through August, back up to a high, and then we've had some structure pushing down into this daily 50 to 80% zone. And now we're into this zone, we've actually had a reaction, and we've actually had that change of character. So let's jump onto the 1 hour, and here we are. This is our change of character. Now I'm happy to look for a limit order going long, so I'll mark it out 50 to 80 zone. Then we're going to place one trade, 1%, going to 1 to 2. Then we're going to place a second trade, targeting the 4 hour high, which is the swing trade, which the 4 hour high is there. So two ways we could pick this swing trade. We can go to the 4 hour and say that this here is the high that we're going to target, or given the fact that on the daily we are massively overextended, we can play it a bit more safe and just target the possible reaction zone, which would be that 50%. Because if that is shifted, if we have shifted direction now on the daily and my price is going to come down, then targeting the 50% of the swing would be a safer bet. I'm not convinced we are just yet. So I'm going to target the 4 hour high. On the swing trade, we're going to go break even. That second trade is there to catch a runner. So that's the markup. I'm going to put those limit orders on now, and then I'll get back to you to see how the trade plays out. So right now it's Thursday morning. It's 20 past 8, so it's just past the London Open, and price has been pushing up for the last couple of sessions. All our limit orders are currently in the wrong places. So let's get rid of these. Let's redraw that push. Let's get a zone set right, and let's get these limit orders back on, some fresh ones. Lovely stuff. I'm going to get them limit orders set on now, and then I'll update you as the day progresses, see if we get tagged in. If we don't get tagged in today and it runs into Friday, if we've not been tagged in by Friday morning, then I'm probably going to get rid of the limits, because one of my rules is not to get in on a trade, on a Friday afternoon trade and hold over the weekend. Not because the direction's wrong, but because sometimes the market will gap overnight and do a deeper pullback just by gapping, and then it'll obviously go in the direction that we're going in. So I don't want to be I don't want to get caught up or get stopped out by any gaps. So after 3 weeks of waiting for a trade setup to come, I ended up missing the first setup out of a little bit of insecurity, even though the trade would have been absolutely justified, and I'll show you why I didn't take it. But then we got in on another entry, and it hit take profit on the first trade and then stop loss on the second trade. So I'll jump into my charts, give you an update on the first trade, and we are now currently 1% up on the challenge, or 0.9%, 0.92% up on the 10k challenge. So we're in the green. It's a good start. I'm really happy with my patience over the last 3 weeks. But yeah, let's have a look at the trade. Once the discount was mitigated, it went all the way down to the bottom. Price gave us a change of character. Here's where I should have really took the trade. Given the fact that it was only 8 pips, 10 pips to where we would have had a stop. In fact, no, we would have covered the low, because we always cover the low at turning points. So given the fact that it was 18 pips, I should have really just took that trade. However, I didn't, because for whatever reason, my gut was saying, don't, probably not a great idea that, listening to your gut rather than your mechanical strategy. I'll let that slide, but going forward, I shouldn't really be doing that. I should stick to the plan. Anyway, so I should have got in here, because if I did, we would have gone up to take profit. Anyway, second opportunity came here. Obviously, all the zones are already marked out because this is just a replay of all my markups anyway. We have the push there, and we would have been tagged in if we'd have gone for a second trade, but because that last high didn't break the previous high, I had a bit of a suspicion the price was going to go into a bit of a range and just start moving sideways, you know, a bit indecisive. Anyway, it just steadily trended upwards. That would have been take profit hit. Just sat on my hands because it was a very, very slow climb up. There was no real big impulse. Anyway, patience. And then we got to this point here, and I took the full 4-hour fib level. This was the trade that we took, marked that zone up. The 50% of the full swing was mitigated, and we had that big bullish impulse there, which I loved. So what I did was I took my fib according to the plan. That's where I got tagged in. Big impulse. I drew my zone. I dropped onto the 5. And I waited for that change of character, which was right here. That 5-minute change of character. And then my limit order went on my zone. I covered my 80%. I targeted a 1 to 2. And then the second position, I targeted all the way up. So first trade, I was tagged in right there. And you'll see that we drew down a little bit. It pushed higher and higher and higher, and hit my take profit on the first position there for a 1 to 2. So we bagged 2%, and then price just melted away. And then there was a Powell's speech, the Fed press conference, and obviously he decided that rate cuts weren't going to happen, and boom, the news release. And that was our stop loss hit right there for that trade. So, pretty much, first trade accomplished. So that was it, with 1% up. First trade of the challenge complete. I'll see you in the next video in the next trade setup.